And would the kids please come and gather around? Make it a little bit easier for me to get up this time. But I could use your help. Thank you, Gabriel. These actually we're going to do at the end of the service. So those I'm just going to move aside. But we'll do some bells a little later. We'll come up and help with that. So, excellent. Okay. And I have a couple friends that can help today. What are these? Have you already noticed kind of a theme about sheep today? Yeah. So I'm gonna, I sometimes, do you ever wonder what God is like exactly? Because God is so big and so vast and so kind of unknown. We can't see God. So we get as many clues as we can to what God is like. And there are a lot of clues in a certain book called, what book do you think has a lot of clues about God? The Bible, yes. But sometimes we use something called metaphors to figure out what God is like, or to name what God is like. A metaphor is when you say something is something else, and it isn't really, but it helps us kind of figure out. So like if I said, she's a total couch potato, you know what that means? Yeah, lazy, just sits on the couch, maybe watches TV. We know she's not really a potato, she's a human being, right? That's a metaphor. And what if I said, yeah, I know, naughty sheep. What if I said, he's a night owl? You know what that means? Yeah, stays up late. It just means not an owl, right? Of course not. He's a human. But owls are awake all night, right? So that's why you use that expression. So, or what if I said, oh man, that classroom was a zoo. It was crazy, out of control, but they weren't actually animals in there, right? Yeah, those are metaphors. And we have a lot of metaphors that we use for God. Like sometimes we think of God as a father. Sometimes we think of God as a mother hen, right? Sometimes we say God is a potter. A potter creates things out of clay. If God is the potter, we are the clay. And because God made us, and God can help mold us if we are willing to figure out what God wants us to do and how God wants us to behave. So today we have one of the very most famous metaphors about God, and it is God is the good shepherd. Exactly. Yeah. God is the good shepherd, and if God is the shepherd, we are the sheep. Are we really sheep? No. But in what ways are we like sheep? We follow, yeah. Or what ways does God behave as a shepherd to us? Takes care of us, yeah. What do sheep do?
Follow God around.
Mm-hmm. What do they eat? Yeah, so God leads them to pastures, right, and still waters. I know, only it doesn't hurt. No? Yeah. So today, the psalm that Zoe led us in is one of the psalms that talks about God being a shepherd. And it is one of those psalms that is probably the most memorized because it's not too long to memorize and it is so comforting. It has a lot of beautiful language in it that can be very helpful, especially if you're going through a rough time or if you just want to be reminded that God will take care of you. So I want to read that psalm and have you repeat it and talk a little bit about what it means, Psalm 23, and then I have a little tiny thing for you. So it starts out, the Lord is my shepherd. Right, say that please. The Lord is my shepherd. And then it says, I shall not be in want. I shall not be in want. And otherwise, if God is taking care of us, that's enough. We don't need anything, right? Where God will make sure we get what we need. I shall not be in want. And then it says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. Say that. He makes me lie down in green pastures. What does that feel like to you if you say that? Like on the grass? Yeah? Is it a good feeling? To me, it's very peaceful. Like you just get to enjoy the beauty and the lush grass, and you can take a break and don't have to do anything for a minute. You just, yeah. And then it says, and what do you do when you're in the green pastures? If you're not lying down, you're eating. Yeah. And then it says, He leads me beside still waters. Anna, do you want to help Zozo a little bit? Okay. Maybe another time, Zozo. He leads me beside still waters. Would you say that? He leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul. He revives my soul. Did you ever have a feeling like your soul needed some reviving? I have. Do you want to know when? Well, no, my soul was pretty well revived. Maybe when my husband died, my soul needed some reviving because I was in such sorrow. I missed him so much, and I was so sad that he was gone, and God somehow revived my soul. Have you ever had a time when you've just felt sad or maybe frustrated? Like something? Yeah, I remember her, and I remember when she died. That was such a sad thing. Yeah. And then it says, He guides me along right pathways for His name's sake. So God will help me go in the right direction, which is a very good thing. Then this part says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. This is familiar to you because you led the song. Yeah. So it's saying, even though God is with us, there are going to be times that are hard. We might even walk through the valley of the shadow of death. But what do we know? Well, actually, would you say that? Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. I shall fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Why does the Good Shepherd have a rod and a staff? What is a staff? You know? A wand with a gem on it? Yeah. I think in this context, it might be like a shepherd's crook that has a little shape like this so that when the sheep gets out of line or wanders away, you can kind of gently pull it back. Yeah. Get back here. Yeah. And that can be comforting, right? And then it says, there's just 2 more verses left. You spread a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So even though some people might not like me or might be against me, I know that God is always for me. He's going to take care of me and even spread a table. And it says, you have anointed my head with oil, and my cup runs over. My cup is running over. What does that mean? Yeah. Like not only is my cup full, it's more than full. And sometimes people talk about that when they think about all the blessings in their life. Like so many good things we have. Can you think of any blessings you have? JJ and Marcus, are those friends? Cousins, yeah. Your pet sheep, yeah. How about always enough to eat? Mm-hmm. And does anybody have any dogs? Is that kind of a joy in your life? Or is it just like, oh no, I gotta walk the dog again? I bet they give you a lot of love, don't they? Doesn't Oliver give you love? And yours? Yeah. And then the last part says, surely your goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So I don't know about you, but I find so much of it so comforting. And I'm going to tell you one story about this psalm, because my husband's father was in a war, and they were being attacked, and he was running through a field, and he was very afraid, and people were getting hit, and it was bad. And he found himself running through this field. It was World War II, and he was shouting at the top of his lungs, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures." It just came to him, like he didn't even know where it came. He just started saying the Psalm 23. And he survived. A bullet went through his helmet, but not his head. And he did get some shrapnel in his leg, and so he got sent home because he was injured, but he survived. And he was like, somehow, I had learned that song, and it came to me like a gift. Like all of a sudden, I had something I could say, a way that I could pray, a way that I could comfort myself, and kind of feel like God was going to take care of me no matter what. And I think it's wonderful to have things like that. Sometimes, especially if you sing in a choir or you sing, there are words that you memorize because you sang them in a song. And those can be comforting. Has that ever happened to you? Yeah. But this is one of those things that I am going to give you a copy of Psalm 23. And if you're able, I encourage you to memorize it. To just say it every day or every night when you go to bed. And maybe for a while, just learn the first verse. And I'm going to give Kieran one first. Here, Kieran. Ooh, can I thank you, Olivia. Oh yeah, she can definitely have one. And I have a couple extras if anybody wants one. But that's your kind of homework. If you think about it, if you want to, I think it's kind of giving yourself a gift to have certain parts of the Bible in your heart. So this is one of those pieces. How many people in the congregation have the 23rd Psalm memorized? Probably the King James Version. Yeah, look at them all. Yeah. So that is what we are. And all throughout the service, I want you to listen for sheep and shepherd, because it's going to come up again and again and again. And I think the choir is singing it out, right? All right. Thank you so much.